Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Los here. We back on the throne of positivity where the first is last and the last is first. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Kind of on the move. It's currently Tuesday, October 1st. Can you actually believe it? We're it's 10 o'clock in the morning, 10:20 to be exact, and I'm on the move, been doing a lot of things, getting ready for this journey. I don't know what's about to happen. I'm in my car. I actually came towards the east side of San Diego, all the way to the east where the mountains were. You guys saw that mountain range that I've done videos with before, and just was out here. I wanted to go to the park, but the parking machine is not accepting credit cards for some reason. And the way that it's set up, I was just like, man, I'm not about to go through all the trouble to go to the ATM, get some $3 out just to do this stuff. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just go back home. It's 30 minutes this way. I didn't waste my time. There was a reason why I came on this side. But I wanted to shoot a video since I was already over here, but it didn't work out. So I figured I'll do like an in-car video while I'm heading back home. Got about like 25-minute, 30-minute drive. So I wanted to get on here and try to encourage somebody to continue believing God for the impossible. That no matter what happens in your life, you can trust the God of the universe. He who suspends all creation by the command of his word. The same God that receives praises and worship on high from the most miraculous and awe-inspiring creatures of all creation is the same God who speaks to you. He's the same God who is with you. And I really try to get intimate or profound on these details because I don't think we actually understand who God is. And I'm not trying to advocate or defend the position that I know who God is. But when you start to put these things into perspective, imagine the power of the sun. The sun itself was to decide to be with you in this moment. That he's the one that defends you, that the sun is the one that will scourge your enemies, that will give testimony when needed. He's the one that's with you in your darkest moments, right? The power of the sun. That's the same God that is with you. And is not the power of the sun is far greater than that is God himself. And if you can only imagine what the Lord has in store for you and just think about him, that we're talking about the sun being with you. The sun is the equivalent of what? Like a firefly, right? The butt of the firefly is not even profound in the sight of God. Yet God created that sun and he's the one that's with you. And one of the most comforting verses in the Bible is found in Isaiah and then in Jeremiah. It's this concept that God speaks and he says, if you can break my covenant that I have made with the sun and the moon, then I will believe that I will break my covenant with my son David. Why am I telling you these things in this moment? If you haven't been following along on our lives Monday through Friday, 3 p.m., some snag in the road came where it's just life changes and your entire perspective is challenged. Your belief system is rocked to its core. Everything is shaken and everything seems shattered, broken in pieces. And you're left questioning, why, oh God? And not even why, because I'm not even concerned with why, right? Like I've been through so much in my life, like you just become desensitized to these types of situations. But God is so awesome in all his ways. He's so marvelous and miraculous, man. Like, I am in a situation, it's Tuesday. I got to move out of the beautiful condo that you guys have been a part of this past year, man. The place that I thought was sure as the sun rising in the morning, man, is the same place that I have to leave. Now, what's incredible about this situation is that I can't believe how much peace I have with it. Like, you just come to terms with it. Obviously, there's those moments, but why has not been a question in my mind at all? Because my hope is not founded in situations nor circumstances. My hope is not grounded in dreams or signs and wonders and miracles. My hope is founded in God himself. So in order for me to have this like existential crisis, right, the reason why I'm not having that crisis is because my identity is not involved with my interpretation of a dream, right? Because we have to think about Joseph. Joseph received a dream. Joseph had it in his mind. Think about this. You wake up one morning and you have a dream, the type of dream that Joseph has, that his parents and his family are going to bow down before him and serve him. In a patriarchal society, you don't say something like that. That's the equivalent of being in Russia and telling Putin that he's going to bow down to you. Like, what? Imagine going to the United States White House. I mean, we live in a free country. You could probably do whatever you want these days in the United States, so I don't know. But imagine telling the president he need to bow down and serve you. You had a dream about it. So what was the vision that he actually saw? And because imagine, he said that he saw stalks bowing down before him, the sheaves and all these other things. Imagine that the place that he saw was his home. What if the place that he saw was the field that he went to every single day to work and be with his brothers, right? So when he goes to tell the dream, he finds himself in the same place that he's declaring to them this very thing. And he's like, this is the place. I saw it in my dream. It was as real as it can be. But we know how the story goes. It doesn't end up that way. Dreams are funny things because they don't really determine reality. Dreams are so ethereal. They're so random. They're so spiritual and disconnected from the realm of reality that you can't hold to that as if reality. It's just the direction that God is pointing you to. So although Joseph may have found himself standing in the very place of his dream, declaring it to his family and his father and his brothers and his mother and his sisters, what a rude wake-up call it was when he found himself in the pit. And from the pit to the prison, years and years and years, right? That he was there, forgotten. Imagine that he had to come to terms with those things. How did he overcome? What faith did he have? What hope did he have? I think at some point he had to understand, oh, it's not the place that matters. And maybe that's why God changed his place, his footing, from being in the land of Canaan, in the promised land, to that pit, into darkness, into slavery, into chains, into fetters, into all these things, because God wanted to show him it's not about the place, it's about the message. So although it's undeniable what I've experienced here in San Diego, like it's undeniable, and the way that God brought me into the condo was absolutely miraculous. It was incredible. And, you know, having the dream on September 16, 2015, and The landlady giving me the date, not even me asking for it. She gave me September 16, 2023 as the date to move in. Like, those are incredible things. And all the things that I experienced, it's like, all right, it's not about the dream in the sense of the place where you stand or where you're living. It's about the message that God gave me, that I received the promise. And if that is truly from a promise from God, then it shall come to pass. So whatever it is that you're going through, God's signs and his wonders and miracles are tents. They're not permanent places of residence. God moves you from here to there to get you where he wants to bring you, to the place that is a home that was not built by the hands of man. So I find it incredible, man, that I'm not having a crisis. I find it incredible the minimal amount of times that I'm actually thinking about this. I'm just ready for what God has next. And I want to encourage you in that same way that, don't rely on what you see, even what you've seen in the spiritual. Because again, think about every prophecy that every prophet has ever received that has been symbolic. That's the kind of word that I was looking for earlier. They're very symbolic. Imagine the things they saw. Imagine John, the wars and rumors of war that he saw in Revelation. Revelation is scary, man. No Hollywood movie could come close to the imagery of Revelation. Imagine what he saw. Imagine how he thought that maybe it was for a time in his lifetime and it never came. How could he understand the things to come as a human being, even if God showed it? You can't. So, again, these signs and wonders are not places of residence. They're temporary places so God could put you into position to teach you something. Don't rely on what you see. Rely on what you heard. And what is seen is even included in signs and dreams and all these other things. And that's another thing that I would like to talk about, because it's something that I think is important and crucial to understand. I've been going through so much in San Diego where it's like I feel so lonely in regard to this promise. I feel like I'm taking this journey alone, as if, everybody's against me. And imagine, like, your friends and your family, they don't believe in you. They love you, right? They're not your enemies, but they become your adversaries. They become your opponents unknowingly. I don't think they do this out of spite. They just, because they love you. How could they understand what God called you to? They can't, right? How can they understand that this is what happens, and then you were here, then you're here, you're there, then you're there? There's no way for them to understand until God does what he wants to do. But 4 years of this, and it's just like, Father, whatever you want to do, I'm ready. I'm ready to go, and my heart has been broken into 1,000 pieces, because in the places that I needed the most help was the places that I was rejected. The place that I thought, the last place that I wanted to go, that I would never go to unless it was really my last option. Even there, I felt abandoned. Even there, I felt rejected. I felt, whatever I felt. And God will allow these things to show you who is God, right? And I don't hold anything against anybody. I understand, man. Some people, a lot of people, I'll say, but some people, they operate on fear. And that's just the way that they've understood life. Every situation, everything they go through, every part of their life, they have been gripped by fear. And that's how a lot of people approach life. So not only do they approach their own life like that, they approach other people and their interactions with other people in that same type of fear. So I don't blame anybody. I understand. When I was young, I used to be like that. I was afraid of my own shadow, man. Can you believe that? Like, I was so deadly afraid. Like, I would have a panic attack at the most basic social interaction. So I understand, like, how family could be skeptical, how friends, they don't believe. And, where you need it most, they won't be there for you, because it's like sometimes God just wants to isolate you to teach you something. And that's, why would you get mad at people for what God is doing? And then why would you get mad at God for what God is doing if it's going to work out anyways? So I know who my God is, right? So we need to continue to trust in who our God is. We can't be afraid. We can't, fear what is to come. I don't want to operate in a spirit of fear. He didn't give me a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and self-control. And anybody else who's feeling that way, like, don't beat yourself up. Don't fear anymore. But you got to learn from this situation, right? You got to learn from operating in fear. There's consequences to everything. But we got to recognize that all things do work together for our good. So, whatever you're going through, family, keep going and keep pushing. God is faithful. God is holy. He is righteous. If he really said this about me being in San Diego, then he's going to make a way, even though I have literally 24 hours, basically, or 48 hours, I guess, to figure this out with the Lord, to see what is it that he's truly going to do. So everything is in his hands. I want to talk about a few more things. We got like 10 minutes before we get to the house. Man, I was saying that my heart is in 1,000 pieces, right? Because you go through situations and it's like you're being called delusional and you're insane. You didn't hear from God. You don't know what you're talking about. This, that, and the third, right? And then it comes to the point, at what point do you actually start to heed that? What point do you have to be real? Because I can't just say that, oh, I believe and I heard, because some things can't be prayed through. No matter how much you pray, it's not the will of God. No matter how much you hope, it's not the will of God. Right? No matter how much scripture you go to, it doesn't matter. It's not the will of God. So at what point do you actually say, hey, I am delusional? I don't know how to determine that. That's why, even though I've received confirmation, I feel like I'm receiving it almost every day of what's the decision to make. I can't rely on confirmation, especially if it's the same way that it was before, because I'm delusional, right? So the only thing that could make it official is like, it has to be direct. It has to be direct in a way that God answers, like, Lord, is this truly the dream? Is that what we are waiting for? God, I need that answer. So when you're experiencing that, there's this scary thing that happens because you can't trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself, imagine how that feels. So what do you do when the promises of God were not promises? They were purported by your own desire and purpose. What do you do when you use the word of God and you believe in it? It's your hope, it's your rock, it's your firm foundation, but you come to reality and it seems to be that it wasn't a rock, but your house was really built on sand. What do you do when, again, you can't pray to force the will of God? You can't fast. You can't claim promises that do not pertain to you. What do you do with that? Because you were delusional, and that's what everybody's telling you, right? This morning I woke up from a dream. I'll explain it on live today, but not to get too deep on it. I woke up and I read the verse of the day, and it's like 2 Corinthians chapter 10, where it talks about our weapons of warfare are not carnal, but spiritual, for useful for tearing down every lofty argument that sets itself up against God. And when I read that, it made me weep, because I've been fighting with everything that I have for the promises of God, and in the most impossible situations. And it's like, what if even my weapons of warfare that I thought were spiritual weren't even spiritual? What if instead of the sword of the Spirit, I had the sword of my own strength? What if instead of the shield of faith, I had the shield of my frustration? Instead of the helmet of righteousness, I had the helmet of my own righteousness? What if instead of the helmet of salvation, I had the helmet of my own wisdom? Instead of the breastplate of righteousness, I had the breastplate of my own righteousness. And it felt like, even these invisible weapons that are more real than the weapons that I could use to fight any battle, what if even those invisible weapons weren't just invisible, useful, but they were imaginative? And I've been fighting on my own this whole time. That's a scary place to be, and it really caused my stomach to turn this morning. And it was hurtful, man. It's hurtful. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say like it doesn't hurt to be wrong. Of course it hurts to be wrong, man. I know what I believe. I know what I've received. I know what God spoke to me. I know what He promised me. I know what I experienced. Like, those things can't be taken away from me. But I'm being told that I'm delusional, and at some point, again, if the situations aren't improving, if the situation is not moving in the direction that you thought that it was supposed to be, then when do you accept delusion? I just have to accept it, because it's just gonna get worse if I don't, right? So my heart is in 1,000 pieces, but there is something that gives me hope in regard to that situation. I don't remember it right off the top of my head. I posted it this morning. There's this song by Un Corazón called Mil Pedazos, and I absolutely cherish that song, because there's a part of the song that says something to the extent that if I'm in 1,000 pieces, that's good, because then it means that God is not done yet. And when I read that, or when I heard that, and I actually went to the lyrics to read the lyrics line by line, verse by verse, I was so encouraged, and I got imagery of which I wrote a piece on YouTube community. So hopefully you guys can check that out. But imagine, man, like, your brokenness is not the end. It's simply the beginning. God is not done with you yet. This is not the end. He's just getting started. So continue to believe in the Lord for His promises. And if He changes direction, your responsibility is just to follow Him where He goes. So if God stays, then I stay. But if God goes, then I must go. For where He goes, I will go. And where He stays, I will stay. For He is my provider. He is my provision. He is my promise, and He is my promise maker. He is my blesser, and He is my blessing. So whatever it is that you are facing, family, keep moving forward. Don't give up. This is not the time to give up. And although this is one of the most heart-wrenching, soul-crushing, mind-bending, perplexing situations I have ever been in, I don't understand why I'm not being defended in this situation. But I believe that God will rescue me, and He'll make it clear. So let's see what happens, man. This video will be coming out tomorrow, which is Wednesday, 6 a.m. So I'm hoping that this message encourages you. I'll definitely have an answer by tomorrow of what to do. I need an answer as of right now. If God doesn't show up for me in San Diego or any other part of the country, looking out and inquiring where I can, then it's just looking like returning back to Florida, which is fine. I'll sell everything. I mean, I don't got time to sell stuff. I'll just give stuff away and then pack my car as much as I can. And guess what's next? We're just going to have to go back to San Diego, Florida. We're just going to have to go back to Florida. Life doesn't end, right? And again, although that dream was what it was, it doesn't mean it's the end because it didn't come true where I thought it was supposed to be. It's just a message. It's a direction. And because God gave me that message and that direction, I endured as it was necessary. So I'm grateful for this season, man. I'm grateful for the way that God has afflicted me. It was good that I was afflicted. It was good that I was humbled in this way. I've learned so much, man. And I mean, only you can speak to what God has done for you through my life, right? And it's hurtful because it's like everybody's encouraging me, and it's this thing where people are encouraging you, but that encouragement becomes like daggers to your soul. It feels like a knife to the back because it's like, man, Lord, look at everything they feel like they're being encouraged and what they've been able to accomplish through my life, but what's up with my life, Lord? Like, what about me, Lord? But it's okay, because although I see like, hey, man, I felt like I've only been paid evil for good, and I've been through the hellish of situations, and I've often wondered, well, where's my reward for this? Where's my recompense for these things? I'm not doing this for no reward. I'm not doing this for any benefit. Like, it is what it is, and where God is, that's all that I want. That's the only place I want to be. I love the Lord with my whole heart, and He is my reward. So my work is not in vain. I don't believe that. And one day, hey, if He decides that He wants to bless me according to a wife and family and stuff like that, which is always going to be my desire, then let it be by His will, Let it be by His will. And may God be glorified in everything, This is about Him. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about anybody. It's about God glorifying Himself. I said it since the beginning. I came here because of what I believed. I believed that God wanted me here. I thought God's desire was here, so I was here. I thought it was His plan. I thought it was His purpose. I thought it was His decision. I thought it was His dream. That's why I'm here. So if it turns out that it's not, then why would I be mad that it's not if He's saying that it's not and His desire is somewhere else? His dream and His plan and His purpose is somewhere else. I can't be mad at that. Why would I be mad? Because my heart is still in Him. You know what I mean? So I do not faint. I do not falter. I shall rejoice. My heart will take courage. It will be strong in the Lord. It shall be courageous. And my life is in God's hands. Again, it's not over till it's over, right? It's not over till tomorrow, right? It's not going to be over. But we shall see. May God be glorified in everything, in all things. He is the Holy One of Israel. He's a promise keeper, so I have to trust in Him. So anyways, family, that's what I have for today. Hopefully this message encourages you to continue to believe in the Lord and His promises. Don't give up on what God promised you. Just because it's not today doesn't mean it's not never. So keep your head up and keep pushing. I will say this because I wanted to make this video today, but it ended up being something different. I've been studying the story of Hagar, man, and the God who sees and what that means. And there's some beautiful things that I have come across that is like so precious that I would love to share with you guys. So just know, the God who sees, and this imagery of God will show you how He sees you. So I've been studying on that, and I've learned some incredible things. So look out for that. That'll probably be the next video. So anyways, family, I just got to my condo. by old hoe. It is what it is. But so I'll holla at you guys. God bless you guys. Hopefully you guys are blessed. Yeah, if you would like to support the ministry and help me get to my next destination, please consider donating. I really need your help. I really need your help, family. So if you can, consider doing so. There's links in the description. But anyways, family, God bless you guys. It's your boy Los. We on the throne of positivity where nobody shall dethrone us. We out. Deuces.